All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we've got a really interesting pile of articles all about what's new and next in the world of robotics.
That's right. We're looking at iSpectrum, MIT News, Synced, the Robot Report. Kind of a mix.
Yeah, we really try to get a sense of the whole landscape.
You've got these announcements of new products, fresh from industry events. Then we'll dive into some serious research coming out of universities and those cutting-edge AI labs.
Exactly. And we've got a few pieces that give us that big picture, where's the whole robotics thing headed?
It's pretty fascinating stuff. And for you, the learner, listening in, this is our way of making sense of it all. We're going to pull out the most interesting bits, help you connect the dots.
Yeah, you don't have to wade through all those articles yourself.
Exactly. And you'll come away with a really good grasp of what's happening right now in the world of robots.
So I guess a good place to start might be with these humanoid robots. It seems like they're popping up everywhere lately.
It's definitely a hot topic. What really jumps out from all this is how seriously people are taking the idea of actually making these things, not just prototypes.
Like mass production, right?
Exactly. Like, check out this figure AI thing. They've just opened this facility called BotQ.
High-volume humanoid manufacturing, that's what they're calling it.
So it's not just a few robots in a lab anymore.
They're gearing up for some serious production. Like, they really think there's going to be huge demand.
Yeah, the bet is that humanoids are going to become essential in all the sorts of industries.
Speaking of humanoids, we've got to talk about Atlas. Boston Dynamics keeps pushing the boundaries with this one.
Oh, yeah. They've been showing off some seriously impressive stuff.
Parkour moves, backflips, all that, which is cool, but this time it's different. They've got Atlas learning to sequence auto parts.
That's really interesting. It feels like a shift from flashy demos to real-world tasks.
This is industrial stuff, like practical application on a production line. The level of dexterity Atlas is showing is pretty remarkable.
It's like they're getting ready for these robots to actually work alongside humans, doing real jobs.
It's not just the usual players either. You've got Dobot, this company known for its robot arms, the collaborative ones.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
Well, now they're getting into humanoids. They've got this new one called Atom.
That's a big jump for them, going from arms to a full humanoid.
It makes sense, though, right? They've got all that expertise in motion control, manipulation. Those are pretty key skills for humanoid robots.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Atom. Maybe they'll focus on a specific niche, like a particular task or industry.
And the money flowing into this space is pretty telling. Apptronik just landed $53 million to scale up production of their Apollo robot.
Wow, 53 million. That's a serious vote of confidence.
It really shows how much belief there is in the market potential of these humanoids.
And that kind of cash is what they need to really ramp up production, get those robots out there.
It's not just the big names either. Unitree, I hear, is going to be demoing their G1 humanoid at the Robotics Summit and Expo.
Oh, that's coming up soon, right?
Yep, it's shaping up to be quite the showcase for the latest and greatest in humanoid tech.
Definitely going to be worth checking out. And speaking of big players, NVIDIA is making some serious moves in this space too.
Oh yeah, at their GTC 2025, they highlighted some significant advancements in humanoid robotics.
NVIDIA is all about AI and computing power, so their involvement really underscores how important those things are for these robots to really work well.
It's like the brains behind the brawn, right?
Exactly. They need those advanced algorithms, the processing power to handle all the complex stuff, the perception, the decision-making.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got these humanoid robots. They're becoming more real every day.
Yeah, and that brings us to the AI side of things, because you can't really talk about robots without talking about the AI that powers them.
And it seems like that's where things are getting really exciting.
Absolutely. Google's DeepMind, they've just announced these new foundation models, and the potential they hold for robot intelligence, it's huge.
Foundation models, what are those exactly?
So think of it like this. You know how humans, we learn new skills based on our existing knowledge of the world? These models do something similar for robots. It's like a vast base of knowledge they can draw on.
So it's not just programming them to do one specific thing, they're learning how to learn, in a way.
Exactly. It makes them much faster at picking up new tasks, and they can generalize their understanding better. It's like giving them a real boost in intelligence.
It's getting closer to that idea of the ChatGPT of robotics, right?
That's what people are talking about. A truly intelligent AI embodied in a robot that you could interact with almost like you'd talk to another person.
Now that's a pretty mind-blowing concept.
It is. Imagine being able to give a robot a command in natural language, and it just understands, it figures out how to do it, it even adapts to new situations.
That's the kind of AI we see in sci-fi movies.
But it's getting closer to reality, and we're already seeing AI being put to work in very practical ways.
Like this Physio Robotics thing, right? They've introduced this AI-powered autonomous pallet truck. It's called the SPT-1000, and it can actually recognize different types of pallets.
That's pretty slick. You don't need someone standing there telling it what to pick up.
It can navigate a warehouse, find the right pallet, all by itself. It's using AI for object recognition, making decisions on the fly.
And that kind of thing makes a huge difference in logistics, right? It speeds things up, makes the whole operation more efficient.
Definitely. And NVIDIA, with all their AI expertise, they're not just focused on humanoids. They're also pushing AI applications in other types of robots.
Oh, absolutely. They were showing off all sorts of stuff at GTC AI for autonomous imaging, even surgical robotics.
So it's not just about building robots. It's about making them smarter, more capable.
Exactly. AI is becoming a fundamental part of the whole robotics landscape, no matter what kind of robot you're talking about.
All right, let's switch gears a bit. What about those robots that are already out there working hard in factories, warehouses, all those places?
The workhorses of the robotics world.
What's new with them?
Well, there's a lot happening in logistics and automation. Ocado, for example, they've unveiled this new robot called the Porter.
The Porter, what's that one do?
It's an AMR, an autonomous mobile robot. Basically, it can move around a warehouse without needing any fixed tracks or anything. And this one is specifically for moving pallets.
Sounds like a pretty common task in a warehouse.
It is, but what's cool about the Porter is that it can pick up and place pallets directly from the floor.
Oh, so even if they're packed in tight, it can still handle them.
That's right. It makes it super efficient for moving things around a busy warehouse.
And then you've got Locus Array. They're taking things a step further. They're combining those AMRs with robotic arms like pickers.
They're calling it zero-touch fulfillment. So the robot goes and gets the item from the shelf, no human intervention needed.
That's pretty impressive, especially if you're talking about high shelves, things that are hard for people to reach.
Yeah, it makes the whole process faster, safer, and more efficient.
And then there's dexterity. They're tackling another tricky problem, loading trucks.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
It's physically demanding, and it's been hard to automate effectively. But they've developed this robot called Mech, a dual-armed mobile manipulator.
So it's got the arms to handle the boxes, and it can move around the loading dock.
Exactly. And they're planning to expand its capabilities even more in the coming years.
It's a sign of how robots are getting better at dealing with those less structured environments, where things aren't always perfectly predictable.
Makes sense. And then we've got Anywhere Robotics. They're focused on worker safety.
Oh, yeah, that's really important.
They just got $12 million to expand their Pixmo robot. This one is designed for unloading shipping containers.
That's another job that can be pretty dangerous for humans.
It's heavy lifting, awkward positions. So the Pixmo takes over that task, keeps people out of harm's way.
It's a great example of how robotics can improve both efficiency and safety in the workplace.
All right, so we've seen robots that walk, robots that pick and pack, robots that load trucks. What about some of the more specialized stuff?
Oh, yeah, there's some really cool research happening in areas like underwater robotics.
I've always been fascinated by that.
It's a whole different challenge working in that environment.
Definitely. What caught your eye in the articles?
Well, MIT Sea Grant has this program called Sea Perch. They're using underwater robots to get young people interested in ocean science and engineering.
Oh, that's a great idea.
It's all about sparking curiosity, showing kids what's possible with technology.
Get them excited about STEM fields early on.
Exactly. And then you've got advanced navigation. They've developed this micro AUV, a tiny autonomous underwater vehicle. It's called the Hydrus.
And what are they using that for?
Well, they're using it to explore shipwrecks.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
It can navigate those underwater environments, create detailed maps and images. It's all about gathering information, understanding those sites better.
It's amazing what they can pack into such a small package these days. The sensors, the navigation systems. It's really impressive.
It is. And then you got some researchers who are drawing inspiration from nature.
Oh yeah, the bio-inspired stuff. I love that.
There's this one-legged robot that's designed to mimic how squirrels jump between branches.
That sounds adorable. And incredibly difficult to pull off.
It is, but by studying how animals move, engineers can get ideas for building robots that are more agile, more adaptable.
It's like learning from the best, right? Nature has already solved so many problems.
Exactly. And MIT engineers are working on artificial muscles that can flex in multiple directions.
That sounds like a game changer.
It could be. It's all about creating robots that move more naturally, more like living things. This could be huge for soft robotics.
Imagine robots that can squeeze through tight spaces, that can handle delicate objects without crushing them.
It's about expanding the possibilities of what robots can do, where they can go.
And MIT is also exploring this new platform for building robots quickly. They're using these reconfigurable blocks that can be put together in different ways.
It's like a giant Lego set for building robots.
It speeds up the prototyping process, lets engineers try out different designs much faster.
Exactly. It's all about making the development process more agile, more responsive to new ideas.
All right, so we've got all these robots. They're getting smarter, more capable, more versatile. But how do we actually control them? How do we interact with them?
That's a really crucial question. Because as robots become more sophisticated, we need better ways to communicate with them, to guide them.
Makes sense. What are some of the new developments in that area?
Though there's some really interesting research happening on real-time correction. Imagine being able to give a robot feedback as it's doing a task, subtle cues to adjust its movements.
Oh, so instead of programming every single step, you could just guide it like you would a person.
That's the idea. It makes the interaction much more intuitive, more fluid.
And what about those situations where robots can't rely on cameras or GPS, like inside a building or maybe in a dark environment?
MIT engineers have made some progress on that. They've figured out how to use low-power radio frequency waves to help drones navigate indoors, even in the dark.
Oh, that's clever. So it's like an alternative to GPS.
Exactly. It opens up possibilities for using drones in places where they couldn't go before.
And you know those spot robot dogs, the ones from Boston Dynamics? They're getting faster thanks to some clever AI.
Oh, yeah, those things are amazing.
Researchers at the Robotics and AI Institute have used reinforcement learning to triple their running speed.
So they're not just programming specific movements, they're letting the robots learn through trial and error.
Exactly. And the results are pretty impressive. These robots are becoming incredibly agile.
It's like they're constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible in terms of robotic movement.
And finally, there's the Hycurial, a hydraulic quadruped robot. This one can now carry these massive arms, making it a real powerhouse for telepresence.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It's like having a remote-controlled avatar that can manipulate objects in the real world.
Exactly. You can use it to handle hazardous materials, to work in dangerous environments, all without putting a human at risk.
It's a really powerful tool for extending our reach, for doing things that would be too difficult or too dangerous for us to do directly.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've seen robots that walk, robots that swim, robots that pick and pack, robots that can even run.
It's a pretty amazing time to be following the world of robotics.
It really is. What are some of the key takeaways for our listeners? What should they be paying attention to?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that robots are becoming more capable, more versatile, and more integrated into our lives.
It's not just about those cool denos anymore. It's about real-world applications, solving real problems.
Exactly, and the pace of development is really accelerating. The advancements we're seeing in AI, in new materials, in design approaches, it's all happening so fast.
And it's not just happening in labs and research centers. It's happening in factories, in warehouses, even in our homes.
It's a global phenomenon.
So for the learner out there, here's something to think about. As robots become more sophisticated, as they become more commonplace, how will that change our world? How will it change the way we work, the way we live, the way we interact with each other?
Those are some big questions.
They are. And there are no easy answers. But it's a conversation we need to be having. Because the future is coming, whether we're ready for it or not. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a fascinating one.
It has. And we'll see you next time.